The whistle's piercing shriek cut through the unnatural quiet of the Estadio da Luz, echoing off rows of empty seats under the Lisbon night sky. It was August 23, 2020, a date etched into the annals of European football, yet one utterly devoid of the customary roar of tens of thousands. In that sterile, pandemic-imposed silence, a dream shattered, witnessed only by the players themselves, a few officials, and millions across the globe connected by distant screens. On one side, the jubilant red of Bayern Munich erupted in a primal release, their cries of triumph swallowed by the vast vacant bowl. On the other, the dark blue figures of Paris Saint-Germain collapsed, one by one, onto the emerald pitch. Shoulders slumped, heads bowed, faces obscured by hands, they embodied the raw, unvarnished agony of what might have been. The coveted silver trophy, gleaming under the floodlights, stood mere yards away, a cruel, mocking beacon of their near miss. This was not merely a defeat. It was the culmination of years of monumental investment, boundless ambition, and a relentless, almost obsessive pursuit of European club football's ultimate prize. For over a decade, Paris Saint-Germain had poured immense resources into assembling a constellation of global superstars, transforming a domestic powerhouse into a continental contender. The vision was clear: to conquer Europe, to hoist the Champions League trophy above their heads, to etch their name among the game's immortals. Season after season, they had fallen short, often spectacularly, in the knockout stages. But 2020 felt different. The unique circumstances of a single elimination tournament, played in a bubble, seemed to level the playing field, presenting an unprecedented opportunity. They had navigated treacherous waters, overcome formidable opponents, and finally, after years of heartbreak, stood on the precipice of glory. Their journey to Lisbon had been a testament to resilience and dazzling talent, a narrative arc filled with late comebacks and moments of individual brilliance. The city of Paris, accustomed to domestic dominance, held its collective breath, eyes fixed on their representatives in Portugal. The weight of expectation was immense, a tangible force, pressing down on the shoulders of every player in dark blue. For 90 minutes, they had battled with courage and skill, matching their formidable German opponents blow for blow. But a single header, delivered by a former Parisian youth product, had been the difference. One moment, one lapse, one cruel twist of fate, and the dream dissolved into thin air. The pain of the runner-up is a unique burden in sports. It is not the defeat of an underdog, nor the simple loss of a lesser team. It is the sting of proximity, the torment of having touched the very edge of immortality, only to be pushed back into the shadows. The trophy, so close that its metallic sheen seemed to reflect in their eyes, remained tantalizingly out of reach. This specific moment for Paris Saint-Germain in 2020 encapsulates a deeper, almost mythological narrative within football. The enduring question of whether some teams are simply destined to be the bridesmaid, never the bride. Is there a genuine curse that afflicts those who reach the pinnacle, only to falter at the final decisive step? Does the pressure of that ultimate stage, the sheer weight of history and expectation, become an insurmountable barrier for certain clubs, regardless of their talent or investment? This particular night in Lisbon, with its eerie silence and stark contrast of emotions, serves as a poignant illustration of this phenomenon. It was a moment of profound disappointment, not just for a team, but for an entire city, a nation's footballing pride. The images of players lying prostrate on the turf, gazing at the celebrating opponents, speak volumes about the emotional devastation of nearly achieving the impossible. This documentary will explore the journey of Paris Saint-Germain in 2020, placing their heartbreaking final within the broader context of other European giants who have faced similar fates, forever haunted by the memory of the trophy that slipped through their grasp. It delves into the human cost of such ambition, the psychological scars left by the ultimate near miss, and the persistent whisper of a curse that seems to cling to those who almost touched the sacred chalice of European football. Long before the dramatic events unfolded in Lisbon, Paris Saint-Germain was a club forged from aspiration, a relatively young entity in the storied landscape of European football. Established in 1970 through a merger, its very inception was rooted in the ambition to create a formidable team worthy of the French capital. Unlike many of its continental counterparts, whose histories stretched back a century or more, PSG began with a clean slate, aiming to carve out its identity in a city renowned for culture and style, but not, at that point, for consistent footballing excellence. Initially, the club focused on domestic supremacy, gradually building a passionate fan base and securing French Cup victories, eventually lifting the Ligue 1 title in the mid-1980s. Their early forays into European competition were sporadic, marked by flashes of brilliance, but lacking the sustained presence of established powerhouses. The Parc des Princes, their home ground, became a symbol of Parisian footballing pride, yet the club's global footprint remained comparatively modest. However, a pivotal transformation awaited, one that would redefine the club's very DNA and propel it onto the world stage with unprecedented velocity. In 2011, Qatar Sports Investments, or QSI, acquired a majority stake in Paris Saint-Germain. This was not merely a change of ownership. It was a strategic declaration, an unequivocal statement of intent. The new proprietors envisioned far more than domestic dominance. Their ambition was absolute and immediate: to elevate PSG into a global, footballing superpower, a brand synonymous with elite talent and, crucially, European conquest. This acquisition heralded an unprecedented era of investment, fundamentally altering the club's trajectory and the expectations placed upon it. Consequently, the club embarked on a monumental recruitment drive, signaling its new financial might to the world. Gone were the days of incremental squad improvements. Instead, a rapid, aggressive acquisition of world-class talent became the norm. Players like Javier Pastore, the Argentine playmaker, arrived early in this new era, followed swiftly by household names such as Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Thiago Silva, who instantly transformed the team's capabilities and profile. These signings were not just about on-field performance. They were carefully calculated statements, designed to project an image of boundless ambition and attract even more star power. The very nature of the club's identity shifted from a traditional, organically grown entity to a meticulously engineered super team designed for the grandest stages. Yet, this accelerated ascent presented a distinct challenge. Unlike clubs steeped in generations of European glory, such as Real Madrid or AC Milan, Paris Saint-Germain was building its legacy from the ground up, rather than inheriting one. This created a unique and intense pressure to justify the colossal financial outlay by achieving the ultimate prize quickly. The cultural backdrop of Paris, a city accustomed to grand statements and iconic achievements, further amplified this expectation. The club became synonymous with glamour, high-profile signings, and an attacking philosophy. But beneath the veneer of dazzling talent lay the immense burden of proving that money could, indeed, buy the ultimate success. Indeed, the very fabric of Paris Saint-Germain began to redefine itself, becoming a beacon for players seeking both competitive challenge and a global platform. The Parc des Princes, once a traditional stadium, transformed into a modern coliseum, a stage for global stars to perform under the bright lights of international scrutiny. This period laid the groundwork for the relentless pursuit that would define their decade, a journey marked by domestic triumphs, but consistently shadowed by the elusive nature of European glory. The initial influences on this modern iteration of PSG, therefore, were not merely historical. They were profoundly financial and strategic, shaping a club meticulously designed for ultimate European triumph, a blueprint for a future defined by a singular, overriding ambition. Yet the path to European glory for Paris Saint-Germain was far from linear, marked instead by a series of agonizing near misses and spectacular collapses that began to define their continental identity long before the 2020 final. Early in their QSI-backed ascent, the club swiftly established domestic dominance, but the Champions League remained a formidable, often mocking, adversary. Their initial forays into the latter stages of the competition, while promising, frequently ended in frustration, often against opponents who seemed to possess a deeper understanding of the tournament's unforgiving nature. The quarter-final stage, in particular, became an insurmountable barrier for several seasons, a recurring nightmare where their aspirations consistently unraveled. Consider for a moment the psychological toll these repeated failures exacted. The 2016 quarter-final against Manchester City serves as an early, stark example. Despite possessing a squad brimming with individual brilliance, tactical cohesion seemed to desert them at crucial junctures. A penalty miss, defensive errors, and a general lack of composure under pressure contributed to their elimination. This was not a defeat born of inferiority, but rather one stemming from an inability to execute under the intense glare of elite European competition, a deficiency that would, regrettably, become a recurring motif. However, the most scarring of these early trials, and arguably the one that etched a profound sense of fragility into the club's collective psyche, occurred in 2017. Having secured a commanding 4-goal advantage against Barcelona in the first leg of their round of 16 tie, Paris Saint-Germain appeared destined for progression. What followed in the return leg was an unprecedented, almost surreal capitulation. The narrative of La Remontada, or the comeback, became synonymous with their spectacular collapse, a testament to the club's apparent susceptibility to pressure when the stakes were highest. That night, the weight of expectation seemed to crush them, transforming a seemingly insurmountable lead into a humiliating defeat that reverberated far beyond the pitch, breeding a deep-seated apprehension about their mental fortitude on the grandest stage. Building upon this, the 2019 season presented another painful lesson. Drawing Manchester United in the round of 16, a team perceived to be in a period of transition, PSG again secured a crucial first-leg away victory. The return leg at the Parc des Princes, however, saw a repeat of past frailties. Despite dominating possession and creating numerous opportunities, individual mistakes and a late controversial penalty decision sealed their fate. This defeat was especially galling, as it suggested that the mental scars from the Barcelona debacle had not healed and perhaps even deepened. The club, for all its financial might and star power, seemed trapped in a cycle of European disappointment, unable to transcend the psychological barriers imposed by its own history of near misses. Consequently, a narrative began to coalesce around Paris Saint-Germain, a team of immense talent, yet one prone to buckling under pressure, lacking the intangible qualities of resilience and composure that define true Champions League victors. This perception was not confined to external observers. It permeated the club's own ranks, fostering a sense of anxiety and an almost palpable dread of repeating past mistakes. Each new campaign, therefore, began not just with ambition, but also with the lingering ghosts of previous eliminations, a heavy emotional baggage carried onto every European pitch. This repeated pattern of failing at critical junctures, particularly after holding advantageous positions, created a psychological hurdle as significant as any tactical challenge. It was a crucible of repeated disappointment that shaped the team's approach, forcing a constant re-evaluation of personnel and philosophy, all while the specter of past failures loomed large, influencing every subsequent step on their arduous journey towards the elusive European crown. Having navigated the turbulent waters of prior European campaigns, a discernible shift began to permeate the atmosphere around Paris Saint-Germain as the 2019-2020 season unfolded. A new tactical acumen, coupled with a maturing squad, suggested a team finally shedding the heavy mantle of past disappointments. The arrival of a new coaching philosophy under Thomas Tuchel had subtly recalibrated the team's approach, fostering a greater emphasis on tactical flexibility and collective resilience. This was not merely about acquiring more expensive players. It involved a deeper integration of talent, transforming a collection of individual stars into a more coherent, adaptable unit. The focus pivoted towards creating a system where the extraordinary abilities of players like Neymar and Kylian Mbappé could be maximally leveraged, not in isolation, but as vital components of a fluid, attacking machine. Indeed, the psychological landscape within the squad underwent a significant transformation. The constant scrutiny and the weight of unfulfilled continental aspirations had, in previous years, often manifested as visible anxiety in critical moments. However, as the 2020 campaign progressed, a newfound composure seemed to take root. This was evident not just in their dominant domestic performances, but in their evolving demeanor during challenging European encounters. The team began to exhibit a steely determination, a quiet confidence that suggested they had learned from previous setbacks and were now equipped to handle the immense pressure of the knockout stages. They were no longer simply reacting to events on the pitch. They were actively shaping them, dictating the tempo, and demonstrating a strategic patience previously lacking. The path through the unique single-elimination tournament in Lisbon in August 2020 provided distinct opportunities for this evolving mindset to truly shine. Their quarterfinal clash against Atalanta served as a powerful testament to their newfound resolve. Trailing deep into the second half, facing an opponent celebrated for its relentless energy and tactical discipline, Paris Saint-Germain appeared, on the brink of another premature exit. Yet, in a dramatic late surge, fueled by a combination of individual brilliance and collective belief, they overturned the deficit with 2 goals in quick succession. This was not merely a victory. It was a profound psychological breakthrough, demonstrating an ability to persevere and conquer adversity that had eluded them in earlier iterations. The manner of this win, snatched from the jaws of defeat, imbued the squad with an almost palpable sense of invincibility. Building on this, the semi-final encounter against RB Leipzig further showcased their burgeoning maturity. Unlike the frantic comeback against Atalanta, this match was characterized by a commanding, controlled performance. Paris Saint-Germain exhibited tactical superiority, clinical finishing, and defensive solidity, dismantling a formidable opponent with relative ease. The fluency of their attacking movements and the disciplined structure of their defense highlighted a team that had truly found its rhythm and balance. They played with an authority that belied their previous struggles on the biggest stage, projecting an image of a team that had finally arrived, ready to contend for the ultimate prize. Consequently, by the time they reached the final, Paris Saint-Germain was no longer merely a collection of expensive talent. They were a cohesive, battle-hardened unit, imbued with a deep-seated belief in their collective capabilities. The unique circumstances of the pandemic-affected tournament, with its absence of roaring crowds, ironically seemed to remove some of the external pressures that had historically weighed them down. It allowed them to focus purely on the tactical and technical aspects of the game, fostering a sense of internal cohesion. The journey to the 2020 final was therefore a narrative of growth, resilience, and the painstaking cultivation of a winning mentality, a testament to how past failures can, paradoxically, forge the very qualities required for future triumphs. The team had ascended to the very summit of European football, not by chance, but through a deliberate and arduous process of self-improvement and strategic evolution. The culmination of Paris Saint-Germain's arduous journey arrived under a unique and unsettling pallor in Lisbon. The grand stage of the Champions League final, typically a cauldron of deafening noise and vibrant color, stood eerily silent, a testament to a world grappling with unprecedented challenges. Yet, despite the absence of roaring multitudes, the palpable tension within the Estadio da Luz was undeniable, a heavy cloak draped over the 2 European titans poised for combat. On one side stood Bayern Munich, a juggernaut of calculated efficiency and relentless aggression, already boasting a formidable pedigree in this very competition. On the other, Paris Saint-Germain, a team brimming with individual brilliance, now tempered by a newfound collective maturity, stood on the precipice of their long-sought destiny. The air, though still, crackled with the unspoken weight of history and the immense stakes of the 90 minutes ahead. From the opening whistle, the contest unfolded as a tightly coiled tactical battle, a strategic chess match played at breakneck speed. Both sides probed, tested, and absorbed, recognizing the fine margins that would ultimately determine the victor. Paris Saint-Germain, with their dynamic attacking trident, crafted moments of breathtaking incision, forcing critical interventions. From Bayern's formidable defense and their resolute goalkeeper, there were instances where the net seemed destined to ripple, where the dream appeared momentarily within grasp. Consider the agonizing near misses. A powerful strike from distance, deflected inches wide, a lightning-fast counterattack, culminating in a shot that found only the outstretched limb of an opponent, diverting it away from the gaping goal. Each of these sequences, unfolding in a flash, amplified the sense of impending triumph, only to be met with the cruel reality of deflection or denial. However, the defining moment, the singular instant that irrevocably altered the narrative of the match, arrived in the second half. It was a sequence born from a persistent Bayern attack, a swift exchange of passes on the wing culminating in a precise cross into the Parisian penalty area. Amidst a cluster of converging bodies, a header, delivered with clinical precision, found the back of the net. The ball, arcing through the air, seemed to hang suspended for an eternity before its decisive descent. The scorer, Kingsley Coman, a product of Paris Saint-Germain's own youth academy, added a poignant, almost poetic layer of irony to the unfolding drama. This goal, a solitary strike in a fiercely contested encounter, acted as the fulcrum, shifting the balance of power and, more crucially, injecting a fresh wave of pressure into the Parisian ranks. The immediate aftermath of the goal revealed the true crucible of the final. The disciplined structure of Bayern Munich, now fortified by their lead, became an almost impenetrable barrier. Paris Saint-Germain, despite their relentless efforts and desperate surges forward, found every avenue to goal expertly closed. The clock, once a neutral arbiter, now became an unforgiving adversary, its steady march ticking away precious seconds and amplifying the growing sense of urgency. The team, once so composed in previous rounds, now faced the ultimate test of their mental fortitude, pushing against a formidable opponent and the looming specter of a shattered dream. The energy expended in their valiant attempts to breach Bayern's defense was immense, yet the elusive equalizer remained just beyond their reach. Ultimately, the final whistle brought not the roar of celebration for Paris Saint-Germain, but the stark, unvarnished silence of defeat. The images that followed were etched into the collective memory, players collapsing onto the pristine turf, hands covering faces, shoulders slumping in utter despair. It was a tableau of profound heartbreak, a stark contrast to the unrestrained jubilation of their victorious opponents. This particular loss, a single-goal defeat in the biggest game of their history, was not a rout but a narrow, agonizing near miss. It underscored the brutal nature of elite competition, where the finest margins dictate destiny. This moment, more than any other, solidified the narrative of the unlucky champion, a team that had climbed to the very apex, only to be denied the ultimate prize by the cruelest of fates, reinforcing the persistent whisper of a curse that seemed to cling to those who almost touched the trophy. The agony was not merely in the loss, but in the frustrating proximity to triumph, the torment of seeing the coveted prize so close, yet forever out of reach. The final whistle's echo in Lisbon reverberated far beyond the empty stadium, sending a chilling silence across the French capital. For Paris, the collective breath held for 90 minutes released not in a roar of triumph, but in a profound, almost audible sigh of deflation. The city, which had dared to dream, now grappled with the bitter taste of a victory snatched away, a trophy glimpsed but never grasped. This was not merely a football match. It was a cultural event, a national aspiration that dissolved into the night, leaving behind a pervasive sense of hollowness. The immediate aftermath was characterized by a quiet despondency, a stark contrast to the usual vibrant celebrations or even the vociferous outrage that often accompanies significant sporting defeats. Instead, a weary resignation settled over the supporters, a familiar ache of knowing they had come so agonizingly close. For the athletes themselves, the psychological burden of being the runner-up is a unique and particularly cruel form of torment. It transcends the simple disappointment of a loss. It embodies the excruciating agony of the almost. Imagine the phantom limb pain of a championship trophy, felt acutely but never physically held. Players found themselves replaying crucial moments, the split-second decisions, the inches that separated glory from despair. Every missed opportunity, every defensive lapse, every near goal became a haunting echo in the quiet moments of reflection. This is not simply a professional setback. It can be a deeply personal wound, a scar etched onto the very core of their athletic identity. The weight of having reached the summit only to stumble at the final step creates a distinct trauma, fostering a lingering sense of unfulfillment that can persist long after the event itself. In the wake of such a high-stakes failure, the club's internal landscape inevitably became a crucible of introspection. The immediate days following the final were undoubtedly consumed by a delicate balance between acknowledging the achievement of reaching the final and dissecting the reasons for falling short. This period demanded more than just a superficial review. It necessitated a profound analysis of strategic choices, squad dynamics, and the mental fortitude displayed under extreme duress. Decisions about personnel, coaching philosophy, and future investment were suddenly viewed through the prism of this agonizing near miss. The pressure to identify and rectify perceived weaknesses became immense, as the club grappled with how to bridge the seemingly infinitesimal yet insurmountable gap between second place and ultimate triumph. Consequently, the narrative surrounding Paris Saint-Germain within the broader footballing world shifted subtly but significantly. The question was no longer if they could reach the final, but if they could ever actually win it. This single defeat solidified a perception, amplifying the whisper of a curse that seemed to cling to their European ambitions. It moved beyond individual mistakes or tactical shortcomings, evolving into a perceived systemic inability to cross the finish line when the stakes were highest. The club, for all its financial might and dazzling talent, now carried the heavy baggage of a specific, high-profile failure, a constant reminder that their grand project remained incomplete. This new layer of expectation, born from having been so close, would inevitably color every subsequent European campaign. Now consider how this applies when a team faces the unique burden of expectation after a Champions League final loss. The psychological landscape shifts from the hopeful anticipation of a first-time finalist to the daunting challenge of redemption. Every subsequent European match for Paris Saint-Germain would be viewed not just as an attempt to win, but as an opportunity to exorcise the ghosts of 2020. The need to not merely succeed, but to redeem themselves adds an immense psychological weight, transforming every knockout tie into a test of character against a backdrop of past disappointment. This constant comparison to the almost triumph creates a difficult mental barrier, making it harder to play with the unburdened freedom often seen in teams with less recent trauma. Furthermore, this particular defeat had wider implications for the club's evolving identity. While reaching the final was an undeniable milestone, the manner of the loss threatened to overshadow the accomplishment. It created a difficult dichotomy, celebrating the journey while simultaneously enduring the sting of the destination. This dynamic forces a club to navigate a complex emotional terrain, balancing pride in their ascent with the persistent ache of the ultimate near miss. The perception of the club, both internally and externally, became intrinsically linked to this final, shaping its future trajectory, and the immense psychological hurdles that would define its ongoing quest for European glory. Reflecting on this intricate tapestry of ambition and adversity, one discerns a powerful, almost inexorable force shaping the destiny of certain footballing entities. The monumental investment, the relentless pursuit of an ultimate prize, sets in motion a chain of events that transcends mere financial might or individual brilliance. It creates a narrative arc, a grand design intended for singular triumph, yet often culminating in a different, more poignant kind of legacy. The very architecture of such a project, meticulously built to conquer the highest echelons, becomes a stage upon which the most profound dramas of aspiration and disappointment are played out. We have witnessed the arduous ascent, the painstaking cultivation of a world-class squad, and the strategic recalibration aimed at shedding the heavy mantle of past European heartbreaks. This journey, a saga of relentless aspiration, seemed to be finally breaking free from the gravitational pull of historical underperformance. Yet, as the narrative converges, a recurring motif emerges from the shadows of prior campaigns. The emotional terrain navigated by these teams is uniquely treacherous, a landscape littered with the ghosts of agonizing near misses. The repeated encounters with the precipice of glory, only to be pushed back into the abyss, forge a particular kind of psychological resilience, but also an equally profound susceptibility to the unique pressures of the final hurdle. It is the torment of proximity, the cruelest of fates to come so agonizingly close to touching the sacred chalice of European football, only to see it slip from one's grasp by the most infinitesimal of margins. This experience carves a deep impression, not merely on the scoreline, but on the very soul of the club and its devoted followers. The Lisbon final, therefore, becomes a prism through which to view these converging themes. The unwavering commitment to a singular goal, the arduous development of a formidable unit, and the ultimate defining stumble at the very last step. It encapsulates the profound implications of a project engineered for absolute success, yet confronted by the stubborn reality of competitive football, where intangible elements often hold sway. This moment, frozen in time, underscores the unique burden of expectation that accompanies such grand ambition, and how the weight of history, both past failures and future hopes, can become an almost tangible force on the field of play. It was a test of resolve, a crucible that revealed the enduring fragility of even the most meticulously constructed aspirations. Drawing these strands together, we see how the echoes of previous challenges, the lessons learned through bitter experience, culminated in a team seemingly ready to defy its own history. The disciplined approach, the newfound composure in critical moments, all pointed towards a triumphant breaking of the cycle. However, the final act introduced another element, a reminder of the razor-thin line between ultimate victory and the profound agony of being the runner-up. This experience is not merely about a single defeat. It is about the lingering question. It leaves in its wake a quiet contemplation of what truly separates those who conquer from those who merely reach the summit. As we turn our attention towards the ultimate reflection, we are left to ponder the enduring nature of this particular narrative and the profound questions it raises about destiny, pressure, and the elusive dance of glory in the grand theater of European football. It is a story that resonates far beyond the pitch, speaking to universal struggles against unseen forces and the persistent quest for validation. The silence that descended upon Paris Saint-Germain after the final whistle in Lisbon was not merely the absence of sound. It was the heavy quiet of a dream deferred, a collective aspiration that had reached its zenith only to be denied the ultimate fulfillment. For the players, the coaching staff, and the millions of fervent supporters, The agony of that moment was profound, a specific kind of suffering reserved for those who touch the very edge of triumph, only to be pushed back into the shadows. It was a loss not of inferiority, but of proximity, a testament to the brutal, razor-thin margins that separate immortality from the enduring ache of the almost. This particular defeat etched itself into the club's narrative, adding a poignant chapter to its ambitious journey, a reminder that even limitless investment and dazzling talent cannot always guarantee the elusive crowning glory. Yet, the experience of being the runner-up extends far beyond the confines of a single club or a specific match. It is a universal human saga, played out on the grand stage of elite competition, where the pursuit of excellence often culminates, not in absolute victory, but in the profound emotional landscape of the near miss. For every team that hoists the trophy, there is another left to grapple with the haunting question of what might have been. This is the unique torment of proximity, a burden that can weigh heavily on the psyche, fostering a relentless introspection into every decision, every moment, every missed opportunity. It is a crucible that tests not only skill and strategy, but also the very core of mental fortitude, demanding a resilience that often goes uncelebrated because the ultimate prize was not secured. This narrative of the unfulfilled quest, exemplified by Paris Saint-Germain's 2020 journey, serves as a powerful reminder that the true measure of a team, and indeed of any grand human endeavor, transcends the final scoreline. It lies in the unwavering commitment to a vision, the relentless pursuit of improvement, and the courage to face adversity, even when it manifests as the bitter taste of a near triumph. The path to the final, with its dramatic comebacks and moments of sheer brilliance, was a testament to their growth, their newfound cohesion, and their ability to overcome significant historical hurdles. These achievements, though not culminating in the coveted trophy, remain indelible markers of their journey, demonstrating a capacity for greatness that cannot be diminished by a single agonizing defeat. The enduring whispers of a curse that seems to cling to those who fall at the final hurdle are perhaps less about supernatural forces and more about the immense psychological weight of repeated aspiration. It speaks to the immense pressure that builds with each near miss, the self-imposed burden of expectation, and the collective memory of disappointment that can, at times, become a more formidable opponent than any team on the pitch. Overcoming this requires not just tactical brilliance, but a profound internal shift, a transcendence of past narratives, and an unwavering belief in a future unburdened by the ghosts of what might have been. The true practice begins not with the lifting of a trophy, but with the courage to continue, to learn, and to redefine success beyond the singular act of winning. Ultimately, the legacy of a team like Paris Saint-Germain in 2020 is not merely defined by the absence of a trophy, but by the indelible mark of their journey, the lessons learned in the crucible of elite competition, and the inspiration drawn from their relentless pursuit of an ambitious dream. Their story, and that of other unlucky champions, illuminates the profound human drama inherent in high-stakes endeavors, the ambition that drives us, the pain of falling short, and the enduring spirit that compels us to rise again. It is a testament to the idea that true greatness is often forged not just in victory, but in the noble struggle, the courage to reach for the unattainable, and the resilience to continue the quest, forever chasing the elusive shimmer of glory, undeterred by the haunting shadow of the almost. The final whistle may have sounded, but the story of their unyielding aspiration continues, a testament to the enduring power of dreams in the grand theater of human endeavor.